Good morning, everybody. So it looks like it's going to be a fun day, at least off the open. We'll have to see if this continues or not. But for me, I like what I'm saying, and I think it's going to be a good day. So we're looking to move higher on some key stocks here. I think that'll continue, to say the least. I really do believe that. I think you're setting up here for a nice move higher, and we're going to see how it plays out. But let's go from there. Let me just send this link real quick to someone. And we're done there. Okay. So you've got a lot going on. Good morning. My first good morning of the day. I'll take it. So we have a lot going on here today. Let me just go to the stocks that I've been reviewing all morning. But there's something that, you're starting to get into the winners and losers of this pandemic, right? I mean, that's what you're starting to see happen here. And, I don't want to be so cold and callous about it because it's obviously a horrible, horrible thing. But when you're starting to see stocks like this, okay, actually rally on bad news, you start paying attention a little bit, see if they hold. The CDC's comments today, right? You saw the CDC today come out and, well, let's just leave it here. What they say, if you feel that you're at risk, high risk, don't get on a cruise. That's a pretty awful thing to say to an industry coming from the CDC. So they clearly are seeing something that is of interest there. But the fact that these are actually trading up on the news leads you to believe, and I'm just going to run through all three of them very quickly. Okay. And if you're interested in playing these, the one that makes the most sense is going to be RCL. I would only play these for a trade. I think they might rally and pull back, but there's going to be action in these today based upon what the CDC came out and said. So just keep that in mind before we start. Hey, Justin, good morning. Good morning, Brandon. So let me just run through some names and then we'll go from there. All right, UPWK, I'm going to leave this RSI in for now. Down here. Oh, you know what I want to try? Everybody let me know what they think of this. Hold on. I think there's a way to, you know what? I'm not going to do it now because I think that I have to change that. Yeah, I can change it right here. Hold on. Let me just see something because I got some questions on the background and that's not going to work. Just give me 1 minute here. I'm curious what people think of this, if this is going to work for people. Let me know if this background works because the black background seems better and you should be able to see this clearer. But the goal is for you to see that this, so I don't have to keep typing a symbol in. So I'm going to run with this today. Let me know what you think of it as far as a background. Just the clean black, and then like this is lit up a little bit more. So anyway, let me just get back to it, but let me know what you think of that. So I don't really like buying stocks that are doing this, right? Now, why did we go down? We went down on earnings. That's not going to change, right? The reason we went down is not really going to change. So that's going to be an issue. Now, if you overlay this with this line that we drew a long time ago, right? You could still go lower, but you formed a little morning star right here. And it was like, that's enough, right? And that's what these morning stars do, or these hammers do. They give you an opportunity where you can go, okay, well, that's enough. You close below the hammer here and on the low, there's really no reason to hang out and see how this is going to do. It's pretty clear, right? So same thing here. You buy it, you see if it breaks out. It does, and then it goes, and maybe you get up to here. You can try this. I'm not giving it a ringing endorsement, but I will say this, you have to just look for patterns, and this is not really giving you anything that's saying that you need to be jumping into it. Yeah, it's way better. Is it? All right. Good morning. All right, good. All right. SE. So SE, I actually think Netflix can pull up, but let's just go into SE. So, I have a position. We had one in the newsletter. Frankly, when it triggers on the close in the newsletter, I have to get stopped out, right? I have to have a definitive spot in the newsletter where that's it, that's enough. There's not really much I can do about that. And the reason I'm saying that is it doesn't always work out, right? It didn't work out for NVIDIA. It didn't work out for SE. I actually like SE here. I think all it did was just trigger to pull people out to get stock. I mean, I really think they just knocked it down to see what they could get there at the end of the day. So I actually believe that this is heading higher. I do. I believe this is heading higher, and I would just watch this 308.84 level, which is really where the 8-day is. You know, two days ago before today, the market was falling apart. This hit an all-time high and closed at an all-time high. So that tells you that there's buying out there. And you see how this volume line is picking up? That's everything that you want to see. So Netflix, I'm watching it. Been watching it like a hawk. I actually think it could flip here. So I do. I think it could flip there. So let's see what happens with it. I mean, this is, you can see the difference in the lines between pre and post data, but you're right there. And I just don't see how these large cap names are going to go forward and this doesn't get pulled up some with it. And really what you're seeing here is, I'll draw this very crudely, but right, you can kind of see how they keep stepping up where they're selling, which is exactly what you want. Right now, when this happens, what do? You still need to break this line and get above it, and you're unable to do that. Now, the level I would look at is if I can get above that 551 right now, 551.50, you know, maybe I re-challenge this 556 and see where it goes from there. The RSI looks great on it. Everything looks good, but I need to break before I can get involved with it. So GOOG. So yeah, I think it's cleaner doing it this way. I think as long as people can see the symbol, I think you're fine here. You know, I really do. I think you're in good shape here. I don't think there's really much to say here to do. You pull back to the 21-day. I mean, the best thing that Google can do, right? The best thing that Google can do is just pull back to the 50-day. Whenever it pulls back to the 50-day, it just has constant support. It's a cash cow and everybody wants to own it, right? So whenever this pulls to the 50-day, that's really the spot to just own the darn thing. What do you do with it here? You just leave it alone. There's no reason to do anything. You know, you can flip here and go higher and it can grind, but it's not the best spot to buy it. I mean, you know, you're going to grind higher, but it's going to take time. I mean, it's just such a big company now, but it's such a cash cow. But I do like it, Jacob. SOXL, you know, you might be bottoming here on this. It's kind of how I feel about it. It's going to be really hard for this to maintain going down. Right? See how you're gapping right into that 50-day? It's going to be really hard. You hit this trend line, you bounced, you reversed the other day, and now you're trading back up. Very hard for this to not bounce here. You know, especially like, you know, today, this is set to open at an all-time high. And, you know, I don't think that that's going to go away. I think you're going to see buying based upon that. So we're going to have to see how it plays out, but I think it's going to be really hard for the stocks to stay down now. And that presents other opportunities, like maybe we should be looking at AMAT, maybe we should be looking at AMD, you know, especially AMD considering the circumstances. So, you know, there are areas here where I would definitely be looking at, but I do like this trade. Depends on how much you're willing to lose, but I don't foresee any reason that you're getting below this 39 level. I just don't see it right now. Could it happen? Absolutely. Could you run into the 50 and stop? Yes. The issue with these lines is that you've been basing. So when you're basing, the 50 days and the moving averages don't have as much validity. So, hey, Miguel, DOX and CFLT. DOX. So look what it's doing this morning. Let's get rid of these. It's doing exactly what it needs to do, right? You're flipping that level and you're setting up to go to here. Okay. So you're flipping this level. This is what we talked about earlier, right? We talked about this one in the top 10 on the week. that top 10 video, top 10 buys. So absolutely, this can go. This is setting up. I don't know what type of volume we're seeing off the open. Let's just take a look and see how active we truly are. We're pretty inactive. So let's, you have one big trade and it's not even a couple thousand shares. So you just watch it. I mean, I wouldn't get too excited about that. Have to see how that plays out. So CFLT, let's take a look at CFLT. So CFLT, I mean, here's your line. This is what you're looking for. You're above it. You're going to have to see if these hold. I mean, this looks like it's a pretty thin name. And the volume's been going away. So you're really going to have to see if this holds and if it runs and when it does when it gets up there. Right now, I'm not 100% convinced this is something that I need to be jumping into. So let's just see how it plays out. But I'd like to see it move. And if you can, look, I mean, look, you need it to flip, right? If it flips, it's going to go. And it could do that. I mean, you're trying to open right on it. So let's see how that goes. BNTX, look, we're waiting for this news to hit. You're waiting for this news to hit. Just to be clear, this 374.80 is exactly where you stopped Friday night after earnings. It's exactly where we're stopping again today. So there is an issue there. Now, I'm not saying it's going to stay an issue. I think if you break that level, you're going to push. And I think you're going to get to this fib level pretty darn quickly because there's not a whole heck of a lot in here to stop you. Now, just to get rid of this and confuse this chart a little bit even more with what I have in here, okay, there's volume that just goes away up here. It just completely goes away. So there's a really strong possibility this could move. Now, for those that are newer, this is the first level you're trying to get to, right? But for those that are newer, just understand when FDA approval comes out, it's not like a be all end all. They talk about dosages. They talk about efficacy, which we kind of already know. They talk about who they can take it. They start showing the side effects, right? It's like a really comprehensive plan. It's not just, oh, it's approved, go for it. So it's a very comprehensive plan. I think it's good from the standpoint because it's just going to give people more confidence if they want to take it or not take it. But what's really important to understand about this is the following. This whole group is going to move based upon this, but it's really only good news for Pfizer and BNTX. People are going to assume that it's great news for this. But if you're a doctor or you're a nurse and you're administering these and you have the opportunity to decide which one of these you want to use right now, you're going to lean towards the one that's FDA approved. You're going to do it just for liability reasons, your own liability reasons, and probably your own conscience. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying it's going to happen. And the patient's going to want that shot because that's FDA approved, right? So just consider that. So you can rally here, like on MRNA, and you can get to this 406 level, but it could be short-lived. And they're at least a solid month behind, I believe, between FDA and approval. So just keep that in mind. REGN. So six. I mean, there's your level, right? That's what you're looking for. Flip it and you can go. It could move. I just don't have any volume. It's kind of picking up, not really, but it could move on that. It could absolutely move on that, right? You could flip here and just start moving. It absolutely could happen. So, and you're seeing more and more treatments with this as well. So that could be getting the move on it. But breaking through here, you could see that. I mean, what do we look like here on the weekly? Yeah, I mean, you're a little overextended on the move to here. Like, look, I mean, you're a little overextended. You're going to want to maybe pull back because this is a beautiful cup, right? Maybe if you can pull back on that and then go higher, that'd be great. I mean, I don't know if that's what's going to happen or it's just going to rip, but that's really what I would be looking for. I'd be looking to see if I can get something like that out of it. Bookings.com. I like Bookings. I always like this company. But what's that chart look like? I would just watch this. I mean, like, look here. Like, look at this. Do you really want to be buying this? I mean, you're hanging on by a thread. Sorry about that. Don't mean to be, that'll wake everybody up, me moving the screen. But you see what's going on here? 2058. Do you really think you're going to hold there? Maybe. The 8, the 50, and the 21 kind of disagree with you. This traveling, this is not going away, and they're traveling. And the CDC's comments today on cruise lines, you still trying to get to a different country right now is not easy, like at all. It's just not. So, it's something to consider. Hey, Terry. LTHM. So, yeah, I mean, let's look at this real quickly here. That's the weekly. Let's go to the daily. Yeah, off the open. I mean, like, look, let's just show this. Okay. So you're gapping off the open. I don't know what the volume's like off the open. These kinds of bars pre-market would always have me jumpy, right? So in other words, I fill this gap, right? I mean, that's what you did there, right? You filled that gap. And then what happens? Then it shuts down, right? Pre-market. Again, I don't know what type of volume you truly have here. Let's take a look at it and see. There's really very little that made that move. So I would just wait and see how it actually opens up. I like the pattern. I really like these kinds of bars. I can't stress this enough. When you're looking to buy something and see if you're going to follow through, this is most bullish. I'll say it again. It doesn't get any more bullish than this bar. You open at the low, you close at the high. That means that you had zero price rejection during the day. Zero. Like, it's pretty substantive statement to say. So I like that. Flip the 8 and you're probably going to fill that gap to 25.63 and kind of push from there. Now you have some other levels here maybe you can concern yourself with on this LTHM. You have this right here, but you seem to be flipping that 24 already. And that would become support, right? Because it was kind of rejection here. We have that evening star pattern. You try to pop your head over, you can't, you pull back, then you go, boom. But you got to get over that 8, and then you can get up to there, 25.63. I hope that's helpful. So I like, Marty, I like it here. I like it here a lot. So, you're welcome, Nicholas, anytime. Yeah, GM and Ford, right? Like, I just don't, I was talking about this the other day, and I love doing this because it gives me the opportunity, but I'm just waiting. And one of my longer term accounts, I'm just waiting. And then when it gets there, I'm just going to buy it. This is Ford. I have stressed this a billion times, I think, and I'm just going to keep doing it so people understand it. This is a 20-something year base that we're breaking and going higher. And that's really important to understand. That's exactly what you want to see. So let's see how this plays out and go from there. But that whole sector, it's mind-boggling to me. This really broke down. This was your wedge line, and you broke it, right? And now you're here. So I understand why GM's having issues. I really don't understand why Ford can't get out of its own way. Hey, Janika. So let's just go here and take a look at this. Roku. So this is on my list. I went over it this weekend and last night. It needs to get some life, and it's trying. For me, at this point, you're just going to really have to watch what happens here and see if you get a higher high that holds. You haven't had a higher high close over, right? I mean, you really haven't since this started. And, just for a point of reference, I bought it here, right? And I blew it out because it didn't work. But this is why you always honor your stops, right? Because imagine still owning this from up here. What a nightmare, right? And what happens if it does this? Like, you just never know what a stock's going to do. So when you see something like this, you darn well pay attention to it. So, but here's your issue. You're not really sure what's going to happen. Like if we overlay RSI with it, oops, hold on. If we overlay RSI with it, right, you're kind of getting an indication that it wants to curl, but this could roll right back down. Now we did get into the 20s, which is good. And you got into the 20s here last time, and that was a number for it, right? So, and that's one of the key things of RSI. You don't just look at what the number is, look how it responds to that number. And look at the amount of puking that was done here, right? Look at all that volume. And that just happens to coincide with this RSI spot, which just happens to coincide with where the stock is right now. Sometimes those things can actually add value to trying to figure out what to do. I wanted to buy it right here. That didn't work out. You're trying to get in something that, again, we really truly have not closed at a higher high, right? Today, yesterday may have been the first day. So Friday may have actually been the first day that you actually closed at a higher high. So that might be something. If it's anything, it's short term, but there could be a trade there, especially how this is turning. Like here, look at this. And this one's really kind of interesting because it's also kind of like a lesson. Everyone knows I love giving lessons, but you see how you're flipping that? Like that could be a telltale sign that this is coming, right? I mean, this is pretty steep, isn't it? Right? And we could just pull this one out for a moment. And you can kind of see that, right? Tested it, couldn't get above it, tested it, had enough, gap it lower than this close. Everyone's like, this is really going to go lower, reverses, and then here we go. So that is a possibility. I mean, if you're willing to get involved with this with a 337 stop, it might be a good spot to buy it. And I know I'm spending a lot of time on this one, but it's interesting because this is really the stuff you should be looking at right now. You should really be looking at the stuff that's trying to bottom and return. So this gets more interesting the more we're looking at it, right? Because look at the level right here and your point of control, right? And look how it's acting. So I think that's really important as well. That's very important. So I like it. It just depends on, how much risk are you willing to take here, right? Are you willing to take this risk? If not, I mean, maybe it's an option trade. I'll look later, Janika, and we'll see if we can find an option trade on it. Getting above that 8 is kind of pertinent too, right? Because you really haven't gotten above it. I know I'm spending a lot of time on this, but you really haven't gotten above that 8. So that would be something. Plus the point of control there. At least it gives you something that it might work. Yes, absolutely. It's just an outright buy. It might actually be an outright buy now. Right? I mean, it just, to me, look, this is a really simple trade. Okay. I was looking at this and I have all these levels drawn and they respect all these levels. See this 47.5, right? See where you're opening? Flip 47.5 and then use the close of the previous bar, which was 46 3/4 as a stop, right? And you're trying to get in here with a 3/4 stop loss. So that's what I would focus on. To me, that would make the most sense. But I don't think you have to wait for 50. The way I just outlined that trade row, that's a trade. It's sitting right there. It's perfect. So I like that a lot. For AMH, use the 15-minute chart, wait for an entry. I think you have to figure out what you want to do there. For me, it was a clear trade to buy on, take a little risk on Friday, right? Like to me, it's like, am I really going to break this level? Like, am I really going to break that? Like, if I didn't break it, did I just form a double bottom? Maybe. I mean, this bar didn't really encapsulate this body. Therefore, to me, I don't have a bearish engulfing. I have maybe a possible short-term double bottom. So you can wait for the 132, but the 132 might be to get you in the trade. Do you follow me? So in other words, you get in the trade. If you get in the trade and you're at 127, right, and a quarter. So this really just boils down to how you want to do this, Matt, because you're at 128 and a quarter right now, right? So your stop legitimately for being in this should be 3 points, right? If you bought it off the rip. If you leave it at the open, which you're probably going to go and test the open, right? You probably are. So if you leave it, just put an order at the open, you probably get filled, and then just use the 125.28 as a stop. And if you get stopped out, just you get stopped out. But this is going to take some time. This is just not going to go, maybe it does like AMAT or as AMD did in NVIDIA. I don't see it. The action was just awful on Friday, to say the least. So, and I'm not really sure. I don't really have an answer for you. I mean, Intel came out and said they want to buy these companies, and they're just not trading well, like at all. Clack, Lam Research. I mean, they're not trading well. And I'm not really sure why. Like, this tried to break above that wedge line, couldn't. So, maybe they're bottoming out here. I mean, how is the SOX going to rally and semiconductor equipment makers stay down? It just doesn't make sense. Could they underperform? Yeah, they're setting up to underperform. So, but you could just buy it, and as long as you're comfortable with that as your stop, just do the trade. Hey, Bernard, SQ. So I've been watching this. You're kind of wedged in here. I don't even need the indicators, but we can put them in. There's not a lot to do here. You're just sitting, watching, and waiting for it to break this trend line, and then it's a trade to me. As long as you have the volume and the right pattern. What are we doing pre-market? Yeah, look where you're opening. Look where you stopped. You stopped right at that trend line, right? So just consider that. That's why I'm saying I wouldn't be looking at that. For those that were asking earlier about this Regeneron looks like it's going to try and get over that level this morning. For those that were asking about that stock, so UPST. So let's just go through UPST here. This is one we're in, obviously, from the newsletter. I don't know why I have this a couple different places, but this is where you're at. You got up to here, you got to that 220, the upper channel, you rejected. You rejected pretty clearly, didn't we? Right? Okay, so now the question becomes, what are we going to do about that? Well, to me, it's something that you have to consider and go, okay, well, I really don't want to be in this. I'm not crazy about the action on Friday at all. I'm glad that you're bidding up. I hope it runs, from where you closed on Friday, 195 to come in at 201, 202. I think it's great. I am not crazy about this bar at all. So you opened at the low, which you opened right at 192. So that means we are holding 192, right? Right? See, we couldn't close below it, couldn't close below it, couldn't close below it, opened on it, ran up like we were going somewhere, and then came back down. So I'm not overly convinced that this is over, and I'm not going to be overly convinced that this is over until I get above this level, right? And you're going to see something that's pretty interesting, but it always kind of works out this way, doesn't it? So, right, you have a wedge line right there. Okay, so until I'm over that wedge line, right, bonk, 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 until I'm over that wedge line, 208.06, like I have nothing in there but a day trade for me. If I break this little wedge line that's in this bull flag, I probably am going to push to the upper channel again and see if I break it. I actually thought we would break it. I thought people would want to be in there because the earnings were just insane. So let's do Penn. Sure. So, we've been watching it. We have the levels drawn. This is what it's doing. This is when it got added to the S&P, and it's just been grinding down ever since. There's really very little to do here. Like very little to do. You can't get above point of control. You can't get above the 50-day. You can't get above the 8. You can't get above the 21. Why do you want to be involved? So this actually, I'm just going to throw this out there again. This is starting to heat up. This REGN, I'm starting to see some orders on it for those that are interested in it. So Penn, I would pass on. All right, cool. Hey, Jeremy. Good. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. I think people like the black more, but like the idea of seeing the watermark. And TrendSpider just has a way now that I can change the color of the watermark. So I like that. Yeah, but NVIDIA just outright. I mean, if you're asking me to pick between the two, Larry, it's a no-brainer. It's an absolute no-brainer. Like, I think that this is just going to be, I actually think that this is going to be like our Tesla last year. I really do. I think this has just got so much potential. So I don't really see a need to do anything with it. Obviously, if you follow along with the newsletter and either one of them, the free version or the paid one, doesn't really matter. But you've seen that we got stopped out at 193 and I was like livid, but I have to follow the newsletter. But I'm just going to point this out. Like, we did get back in. We got back in around here on a day trade. And some people just stayed with it. And then the other day I just called it again. And you're breaking out here. And this volume is insane. What does that volume remind you of? Right? Remember this? So I think that you could have an enormous push here. And you're nowhere near the top of this channel. Like nowhere near. Right? So out of the two of them, I have this breaking out on huge volume, getting above this shelf, hitting a new high this morning, right? Or I could buy this one that is up half of that, could easily get back up to here, but I have all this stuff I still have to deal with. I don't have any of that I have to deal with on NVIDIA. I've got blue skies, right? So, if you're a sailor, I'm not going to give sailor analogies, but you can see where I'm going with it. So, let's see what happens. Visor. Hey, Ryan. So Visor, let's just get into it, right? So look, they bought a company. This is what's going on with the company. And I'm going to have to jump here in a minute. 51, you got to get through 51. Until you get to that, they bought a company and they're going to benefit from BNTX. They actually are going to benefit greater from BNTX. I guarantee it from what we're seeing with the FDA approval than BNTX is. Oh, you're welcome, Onruku. So I like that trade a lot. So AKM, okay, I'm going to do this and then CDNS and then I'm out. AKAM. So yeah, I would not be buying Akamai until I got above point of control here. Look at these shelves. They're just holding you back. Just wait for it to get above that level, that point of control. There's no hurry there. You broke down here. Maybe you broke down on earnings. Yeah, you broke down on earnings. I'd be really careful there. You filled the gap, right? You filled the gap and then rolled. So there's no hurry there. CDNS. This looks beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I feel like this was a stock that we looked at before. That's beautiful. And look at the volume, how it's picking up. Look how your RSI is picking up. And look how your RSI is still down as it's hitting a new high and it's getting ready to run. So this could really push. This is a great idea. So all I would do is use how high are we this morning? Yeah, you're not really even that high. Just use this lower low. And that's it. That's all you have to do. 152.31. So, all right, that's it, everybody. I have to jump. Have a great day. If you need me, you know how to reach me. For people that don't, just email me at right here. It's very easy. Or comment. I read all the comments and respond to all the comments. So just comment on this video, and then we can kind of go from there. So, and we'll go from there. Yeah, I like it, Victor. I like it a lot. So, all right, everyone. Have a great day.